Most people don't know this, but Rabbi Elazar HaKalir, who wrote the Kinnis that we read on Tisha B'Av, he also wrote Nechamos. And if you look in Matos of Vitri, around 800 years ago, Minig Ashkenaz, they would get off the floor and read Nechamos on Tisha B'Av. And I want to dig deep, understand why. Perhaps Tisha B'Av is not as sad as we think it is. And perhaps the whole goal is to stop being sad and stop crying and to take action. Stick with me to the end. I'm going to explain to you a deeper understanding in this. But for now, we'll look in our Parsha. And Kalev and Yeshua had a Ruach Acheres. What does this mean? God in Reuven comes to Moshe and says, we have a lot of cattle. We'd like to live on the other side of the Jordan. Moshe says, no problem, but I want to tell you one thing. The Meraglim had a similar claim. They said that it's impossible for us to capture Eretz Yisrael physically. Meaning, perhaps we really would need a godly event. We would need a higher power to pull us out, to get this done. The promise of Hashem was to Avram that he's giving us this land. And what do we say? What does David HaMelech say? L'seis lanu nachlas goyim, to give us the inheritance of the goyim. Meaning, if we look at Eretz Canaan on its own, we look at Eretz Yisrael, the Meraglim were correct. It belongs to the Canaanim. And the Canaanim are bad people. And we have to remove the Canaanim. We have to remove these bad people. And in order to do that, it requires risk and energy and fear and money, a commitment. And Hashem says, the Meraglim said, we really can't do it on our own. What should have been the answer? The answer should have been, is absolutely we can't do it on our own. But we can do our little part and Hashem will finish it all. We do it just a little bit. Hashem says, Dabra al b'nei Yisrael v'yisou, by Kriyas Yamsuf, he says, Moshe wanted them to daven, and he says, no, just take a step forward. Move forward. So when they cried that night of Tisha B'Av, when they came to Moshe, the Medrash says, Atem b'chisam b'chi hashav tifku l'deres. You cried for no reason. You're gonna cry forever. Let me ask you a question. If we cry on Tisha B'Av and we cry for no reason, we cry because we lost a Beis Hamikdash. Did we ever have a Beis Hamikdash to lose? What's so special about a Beis Hamikdash? Why do we need this Beis Hamikdash? What are we trying to do? What are we saying when we cry on Tisha B'Av? If we don't understand that, then we're just like the Meraglim. That's the problem. So we need to understand a reason to cry. And perhaps my Rebbe Rav Asher Zelig Rubinstein, Zakkai says that if we need to understand the whole Tisha B'Av, spend the day of Tisha B'Av is trying to understand the greatness of Klal Yisrael. And he says it's explained the best way by Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. What does Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai say? That he was traveling in Yerushalayim and he sees this lady pulling out sa'irim, barley, from the dung of a chamor of an Arab. Can you get how low they fell? An Arab's donkeys, dung, and taking out animal food. And she comes to Rebbe and says, Rebbe Parnaseni, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai looks at her and says, aren't you the daughter of Nakdimon Ben Gurion, of Miriam Bas Nakdimon Ben Gurion, who I signed on your ksuba for 1,000 dinrei zav for 1 million gold coins? A billionaire. And you fall in, and he starts crying. Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai starts crying and says, Bocho v'omar ashrechem Yisrael. He cried, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai cried and said, Ashrechem Yisrael, how great is you, the great Jewish people. He cried a cry of happiness. And he said, like the Marsha explains, take a look. He says, Atem b'chisem b'chi hashav. He says, Ashrechem Yisrael. That when you follow Hashem's ways, you follow Hashem's rules, you follow Hashem's guidance, you take the mitzvahs and you own them. You take Shabbos and Mekadesh them. You fly so high in Gashmias, but he meant, we'll talk about this for a second. And he said, but when you fall so low. So the point Rav Asher took out was Ashrechem Yisrael, that unless we understand the destiny of Jewish people, unless we understand what it means, Echa Yoshva Bodod, Ha'ir Rabasi Rabasi Bagoyim, Rabasi Bamdinois. Unless we understand what all those three things mean, the greatness, the destiny of Unless we understand what it means to be, what are we looking for? We're falling by crying. And Tisha B'Av should be the happiest day of the year. Spend the whole day trying to understand the greatness of Klal Yisrael. And to sweeten this up, we say that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. And understanding Ashrechem Yisrael, that Mashiach has to be born of Tisha B'Av, because the avodah of Tisha B'Av is not to do fake tears. So the whole avodah of Tisha B'Av is for us to 3 weeks and 9 days and no meat, and come and fast and sit on the floor. Why? What are we trying to wake up? It's not dogma. When we say Simone Milsa, it means that because when we do a simon, a physical act, we can incorporate it in our lives. If we give up on sleep on Shabbos so we could learn an extra hour, that's what Hashem's looking for. So Hashem says, take on yourself to fast, take on yourself 3 weeks, 9 days. Why? What's the point? So we can cry? Like the Navi says in Eicho Gimel, the Navi Yirmiyahu says, Ma yisoinen odam chai. How can you cry? Gever al chatoy, nischas b'darkeinu v'nechkara. Let's look into our action. Let's do an inventory. V'nashuv ad Hashem, says Yirmiyahu, the son of Rochav, who Yeshua took from Yericho. Kol ha'bisabel al Yerushalayim zoiche v'roya b'binyona b'zan. That day, the real Evel of Tisha B'Av is recognizing the distance between the greatness of the Jewish people and the greatness inside of me. We say in Kino Lamed Aleph, Eish tukad bekirbi b'tzeisi mi Mitzrayim. A fire burns inside me when I leave Mitzrayim. This fire is the fire of Sasain v'simcha, the fire of V'nas Yogain v'anocha, as Yashir Moshe, it says. And we're on Tisha B'Av. Kina Lamed Aleph, look it up. Wow. It's a time of immense happiness. Unless we build up the Jewish people, unless we build up the destiny of Jewish people, the entire destiny of the Jewish people, including myself. Otherwise, we're activating a depressive state. With Avram Avinu, when he was doing the Akedah, when he held the knife to slaughter his only son that he had in his old age, an angel calls out to him, a malach calls out to him and says, Al tishlach yodcha al anar, don't touch your son. Let me ask you a question. Can you get nevuah if you're upset? Can you get a nevuah if you're sad? Could you get a nevuah if you're angry? No. So had Avram Avinu had any anger, fear, or sadness inside of him, he never would have heard the malach not to slaughter his son. So even on Tisha B'Av, it's impossible that on Tisha B'Av a person should be in a place that he could not have nevuah. We need to have simcha on Tisha B'Av. And the simcha is an understanding that Hashem, when the Meraglim said we can't do it, and Yeshua and Kalev said we can do it, how could Yeshua and Kalev say we can do it? I'll explain it to you. Because when can you be a pioneer? When can you achieve beyond what's humanly capable? If it's impossible, that's what Hashem's looking for. Hashem wants you to say, the destiny of the Jewish people is impossible by me alone. The destiny of me, what's my korban, what's inside of me. When I cry on that, that's when the happiness begins. That's when the Kedusha comes down to Eretz Yisrael. That's how the Shabbos, when a person learns on Shabbos and connects to Hashem, he gets a Nechama Yisera. And that Nechama Yisera is this Nekudas Or, the center light inside of his soul that connects all of Klal Yisrael. All the Jews are connected through this light. And that connects, this light goes up to Shemayim and comes down in Eretz Yisrael. And when Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of the Torah, gets to look and gets to see the whole Eretz Yisrael, he sees it all at once. He sees all of Eretz Yisrael at one time. Because certain Nevi'im only were misnaba here. They never had Nevuah in Chutz La'aretz. But B'yemei Mashiach, the whole world will become Eretz Yisrael. The whole world will be a matzav of Eretz Yisrael. and the whole Eretz Yisrael will be the matzav of Yerushalayim, and the whole Yerushalayim, like it says in the Medrash, will be the matzav of Har HaBayis, and the Kodesh Kadoshim, the place where the Akedah took place, will have an ingathering of all these nekudos, all these lights inside of every Jew. There's 600,000 lights. All these lights will come back into that nekuda. They'll be miyachad with the Ichud Hashem, which exists in one place in this world. One place where we don't have the mitzvah of being megarish the goyim. The one place in the world where every Muslim and Islami in the world says, Allah is with me. Allah is my God. And my proof is that Allah is stronger than the God of the Jews. Because Allah, is able to hold on to the holiest place for the Jews, and the Jews can't touch it. And the Waqaf and Mahmoud Abbas and the king of Jordan and the king of the Islamic religious matters, the minister of Islamic, they control our highest place. You know why? Says this Vasem, is because we're not there. Inside of our hearts, there's a Neshama Yisera. That Neshama Yisera is the Neshama which never gets Tameh. When we sin, that Neshama is not with us. And on Shabbos, when we're separated from the Goyim, when we're outside of all other things, and any guy can come be Megayer and keep Shabbos, but a guy who hasn't been Megayer and he keeps Shabbos, Goy Sheshavos Chayev Misa. It's not La Halacha today. But we need to understand that the bottom line over here is, what's my churban? What's inside of me? And if I do cry, then I'll have Sosin v'simcha. I'll be able to say Ashreichem Yisrael, and Hashem is in the picture. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in the picture. Yes, I can do it. Alei, I can go up. Yochol nuchal. I can be a pioneer. I can make chalutzim like Bnei God, even though they were in Chutz La'aretz, even though they were out of it, even though they had too much money to be able to come to Eretz Yisrael. But they said, we're going to fight the war. We're going to be the leaders. We're going to lead the frontier. We're not going to sit on the floor and cry and say, oh, we don't get to go in. Think about it. What was Bnei Gad of Reuven? They have the Gemara says, Kol Tanai Shi Tanai Bnei Gad of Reuven. You have to have a Tanai. It means when a person says, if I do this, then you'll give me this. And if I don't do this, you won't give me this. If he doesn't say that, the Tanai doesn't work. We learned from Bnei Gad of, what was their Tanai? What were they? What was their conditional agreement? Their conditional agreement was the following. If we do go fight your war, we get to keep our part outside of Eretz Yisrael. But if we don't follow up, then we're going to get a piece of Eretz Yisrael. Sounds strange. Doesn't sound like a bad deal. If they lose, they get Eretz Yisrael. And if they win, they get Chutz La'aretz. I want to tell you something deep. This is what I told you. I'll tell you something deep. So I'll tell you something deep. They knew that Moshe Rabbeinu was not coming to Eretz Yisrael. And they thought that if perhaps they can take their portion in a place that Moshe Rabbeinu already came to, perhaps it would be that Moshe Rabbeinu as if he came into the world already. So I want to leave you with this thought that Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach, this Shabbos, we could be makdish the Shabbos. We could take the Shabbos and make it holy by taking time to learn Torah Sheba'al Peh. On Shabbos of Rosh Chodesh Av and a Shabbos of Matos Maseh, the longest Parshas, we should be Zocher to be able to say Ashreichem Yisrael. We should begin thinking of the happiness that we could have on Tisha B'Av, because there's no greater happiness than knowing that Hashem is running the world. Hashem is in the picture. The only question that Hashem wants is, can I trust Hashem? Do I have the ability to say, yes, I can? Do I have the ability to be a pioneer and go build Panovich, go build yeshivas like Rav Aaron and the Satmarav? And so, Shnira, be a pioneer. Think about what Churban in my head, but never to sit and cry. Sitting and crying, maybe it's good, but that's only if you truly believe and understand. Then it's immediately Nechama, even on Tisha B'Av. Have a great Shabbos. Thank you for listening.